Hello, students. Welcome to this session. I'm Dr. Shyaonti Talwar, and in this session, we will be discussing the poem A Psalm of Life by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. So, a little before the poet, before we go to the poem, a little about the poet. So, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was born in 1807 and he died in 1882. And he was an American national. He was not only a poet, he was also an educator. His major collections of his poetry appears in under the name of Voices of the Night, which was published in the year 1839, and Ballads and Other Poems, which was this collection was published in 1841. He is best known for his lyric poems. So there's a genre of poetry which is called lyric poetry, and Longfellow is best known for his lyric poems. And lyric poems have a certain musicality about them, and he often weaves mythology and legend in the themes of his poems. Now, his poems are known for their simple themes, their natural grace, and their beauty of verse. So he doesn't complicate his poems too much. It is not as if the poems are very difficult to understand, or the lines are very difficult to remember, or that he uses very heavy words. So he uses very simple language to convey very profound themes. So now let's look at a psalm of life. So this is in this poem, the poet is trying to tell us how to live life, right? So it's a lesson about life. We can also look at it as a lesson about life, a psalm of life, or in other words, a song of life, or a prayer of life, or a poem of life. So the poet uses a lot of different metaphors to concretize the thoughts he's trying to convey through this poem. So let's read and understand the poem together. So you can see each stanza is of four lines, so it's not very complicated, right? And it is simple and easy to understand stanzas. So he starts by saying, "Tell me not in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream. For the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem." So he says, please don't tell me not. That is poetic language, right? In other words, he's saying, please don't tell me in mournful numbers in a sad manner, in sorrow, in a sorrowful tune, or in a sorrowful kind of message that life is nothing but an empty dream. So at the very outset, he is trying to tell us that I do not subscribe to this idea that life is empty. For the soul is dead that slumbers. He says, the soul, our that energy, that spark, that life force which is within us is as good as dead if you allow it to keep sleeping. To slumber means to sleep. And he says, let me tell you, things are not what they seem. Right? So we will get to what he means by this. Then in the second stanza, he is telling us, he's giving us his message. Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. So don't live life as if, with each passing day, you're just going one day closer, you're just one day closer to death. The grave. Grave is uh, where you have to be after you're dead and gone, right? They bury you in a grave. So he says, please don't make the grave your life's goal. Your life's objective is not to end up in the grave. Life is real, life is earnest, life is full of experiences. Dust thou art, to dust returnest. It is true that you are dust and you will return to dust, because this is a very common proverb which is said across religions, right? that you have come from dust and you will go back to dust. He says, yes, that's true, but that is only about the body. It is not your soul that goes back to the dust. So he says, please don't say that, uh, please don't apply something that was meant for the body to your soul. The soul does not die. And don't live your life with as if with each passing day you're just getting closer to death and doing nothing beyond that. Not enjoyment and not sorrow is our destined end or way, but to act that each tomorrow find us farther than today. So he says, let us not talk about only joys and sorrows, or happiness and pleasure, or misery and suffering in life, because this is neither the goal of life, neither does this determine the journey of life. What determines our journey is how we act today, how we respond today, how we accept an experience, how we respond to an experience. And each day should be a different day from the previous day. So, what I was yesterday should not be the same person. I should not be what I was yesterday. So, my competition is with myself alone. I have to lead each day better than the day I led previously. Art is long and time is fleeting. And our hearts, though stout and brave, still like muffled drums are beating funeral marches to the grave. So here he uses a war metaphor. Um, because and he is talking about the funeral procession where where if someone dies, there are drums are beaten, and there's a whole funeral procession which goes to the graveyard, or which goes to the crematorium to do the rituals, last rituals of the body. So he compares uh, this beating of drums and the funeral march to our beating heart. So he says, can't you hear that though our heart is beating, it is actually beating towards death, the way drums beat and lead the way to a funeral. So our hearts are beating, but they are actually the sound of beating drums which are played in funeral marches. So please understand that time is fleeting, time is running. You don't have time, right? So live each day as it comes. Be in the here and now. Don't keep making plans about the future. Don't keep thinking that, after 10 years I'm going to do this. Today I'm postponing my happiness because I have to work a lot. But after 10 years, when I have saved enough money, I'm going to enjoy. In other words, he's trying to say that don't keep postponing your opportunities, your good times, your happiness. What you feel right at this moment, go ahead and do it. What you feel right here and now, be in the here and now, live in the present moment. We either live in the past or we live in the future. So either we are only thinking about the past and telling ourselves, oh, uh, you know that time was so fabulous and today I'm nothing. So either we are regretting, we have huge regrets about the past, or we are projecting our happiness to the future, and we are saying, oh, one day I shall do this, one day I'm going to do a world trip, or someday I'm going to take a break, or someday let's plan for something, let's plan for a vacation next month. He says, don't procrastinate, don't think of the future, just do what you want to do and live in the here and the now. That's what he's trying to tell us, right? So now, yeah, and he continues with this battle and war and funeral metaphor, and he says, in the world's broad field of battle. So, what is the world like? It is like a battlefield. So, he says, in the broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life. Now, look at the word he uses to describe life. He compares life with a bivouac. Bivouac is a temporary shelter in wartime. Okay, so he says, so he's talking about that temporary shelter. He says life is just like that temporary shelter in a battlefield, which is temporarily made available for a soldier. And he says, please, for God's sake, in this battlefield of the world where you are temporarily sheltered by life, be not like dumb, driven cattle. So he says, please don't act as if you are cattle, as if you are just cows, a part of a group of cows or buffaloes, herd. So don't go by herd instinct. Herd instinct means if you have seen how cattle travel, what the leader does, the rest of the group does exactly the same thing. So he says, be not like dumb, driven cattle. Cattle never lead the way, they are always driven, they are always led by someone. So they cannot act on their own, they have to take orders, they have to follow others. In other words, they are dumb. Dumb means someone who does not use their intelligence. So he says, please don't be like those animals who have to be led, who do not use their intelligence. Instead, be a hero in the strife. So you be your own hero in the strife. We know that life is full of struggles, life is full of ups and downs, and a lot of uh, you know uh, problems and happy moments and joyous moments and sad moments. But all of this together, you should emerge a hero, you should emerge a survivor, you should lead by example. Trust no future, however pleasant. Let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present, heart within and God overhead. So, this is exactly what I was discussing a few minutes ago, that the poet is urging us, the narrator is urging us to live in the present moment. He says the only way to experience life completely is to be completely engaged and involved in the here and now of things, in whatever you are doing at this moment. So do not trust the future, because you have not seen the future yet, right? You don't know what lies in stock for you. What lies in store for you. You might have plans 10 years down the line. Who knows? Tomorrow a tile may fall and you may die. That it's as simple as that, you know. So live life today. Don't postpone living life. So he says, please do not trust any future, regardless of however pleasant, however promising that future may seem. And remember that the past is dead. You cannot revive the past. It is water under the bridge, it has gone. You can't do anything about it. So let the past be buried, because that is where it rightfully belongs. It is dead. You need to act in the present, heart within and God overhead, because you need to listen to your heart. You need to go according to what your heart says, right? And you have God overhead. So make God your guiding light and follow your instincts, follow your impulse, follow your heart. That is how you go through life. That is how you undertake the journey of life. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. So he says, now he goes on to give examples of people who have lived very full, very fulfilling, very enriching lives, very enlightened lives. He says all great men's lives remind us that we can take our lives to that level. We can take our life to that level. We bother about petty things, you know. We bother about such paltry affairs. That is not, we are wasting the time that we have been blessed with, by not experiencing something good, something uplifting, something beautiful. So let us lead lives where we can actually leave behind our footprints, which others can follow. But there's a paradox here. He says, let us leave our footprints behind on the sands of time. So we might think that we are great people and we are leading exemplary lives, and people are going to follow our footprints. But let us remember that footprints these footprints that we are leaving behind are going to be wiped out, or they're going to be erased by the sands of time. Okay, nothing is permanent, not even we. During our lifetime, we act and think and behave like we are permanent, like we are immortal. But once we are gone, we are just gone. So instead of trying to build a legacy, instead of trying to do something for, save for our children or our children's children, or trying to postpone our happiness to an unknown, uh, indefinite future, it's best that we live in the present, because anyways the footprints that we leave behind are like the footprints on the sands of time. Here time is the biggest leveler of all. Like in a desert, when there's a sandstorm, the desert changes its shape and you have no trace of footprints or people that have walked across a desert path, right? So similarly, time is the biggest leveler, and it is going to wipe out your existence, your imprint completely. Footprints that perhaps another, sailing over life's solemn main, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing shall take heart again. Yes, so long as the footprints haven't been wiped out, so he's extending the same metaphor. He says, so long as the footprints on the beach have not been wiped out, maybe another sailor who has come over there, right, who is sailing the ship, he might, or who has been shipwrecked, so his ship is gone and the sailor has somehow survived and he has hit the shore. So maybe the sailor will look at the footprints, and seeing the footprints the sailor will take heart again. Uski jaan mein jaan aayega wo dekh ke, before the sands of time shift and everything is gone. So, your life might be an example for someone else who is broken, who is destroyed, who is devastated. That person might look at you and say, wow, look at this person. He is living life every day as it comes. Let me take his example and do the same thing, right? And then moving on to the last stanza, he says, let us then be up and doing with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. So he says, in that case, let us be up and doing, let us act, let us not sit back, or let us not procrastinate, let us not make plans, let us just take the plunge and live in the present, and let us have a heart which is prepared for any kind of destiny. Let us not bother about the consequences of our action. Let us just live in the moment. And let us look at achieving and pursuing. If I am very passionate about something, I need to pursue it. I need to go after it. And I need to get it, because life is not going to give me a second chance. Instead of so, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. So, instead of just sitting back and relaxing, let us work hard towards what we really want. Let us at least take steps towards what we actually want, instead of sitting on the fence and trying to decide, do I really want this? If I do this, then what will happen? So there are so many ifs and buts that we are caught up in, that we don't really make the decisions that we ought to. So he says, let us work hard today, and let us also learn to wait. Let us learn to be patient, because life has its own way of rewarding us. If you put in action and energy, you're definitely going to get it back. So the simple theme is what he's trying to tell us throughout, through war metaphors, through funeral ceremony metaphors, through other kinds of journey metaphors, is that life is just slipping through your fingers. Don't let it slip through your fingers. Live in the moment. Don't dwell in the past. Don't think of the future, because दोनों में से आपके हाथ में कुछ नहीं है. You have nothing, neither the past nor the future in your hands. What you have is this moment with you. So live each moment fully and do the things that you like best, that you love best. Hmm? Big, go after your dreams, act and labor and learn to be patient, because life will come back and reward you. So that's the poem for you, and I hope you found this to be a useful session.